Fair enough?
Sounds good. I started the recording.
Yep, I've noticed that. So I assume everyone is comfortable with the recording. So here we are. Let me call this meeting to action. This is the meeting of the Fast Forward Charter High School Board of Trustees. The date is January 27th, 2022. It's 4:00 in the afternoon. And my name is Richard West, and I'm welcoming all of you members. Your screens probably look different from mine, so I don't know what order to go in to have you introduce yourselves. But let's just start with Alex.
Alex Garrett, Vice Principal.
Kim.
Kim Penman, and I am a parent.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, Business Manager.
Lynn.
Lynn Hobbs, Board Member.
Teresa.
Teresa Olson, Board Member.
And Frank.
Frank Stewart, Logan City School Board.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you all for joining today. Everybody received the materials, the agenda and other materials sent out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If there are no objections, I suggest we move right on to our fiscal year 22 financial update. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just getting some stuff together here. I sent this out. Sorry, I had a couple sick kids the last couple days. No COVID, but nonetheless, my wife went back to school this. Many of you probably don't know, but my wife went back to school to get her master's this year. So she's been busy. I've been doing a lot of duties that I normally don't do.
That's good for you.
It is good for me. It keeps me on my toes for sure. But I'm trying to support her and going back to school. She wants to become a therapist, I guess. So and I guess that's probably from years of being married to me, probably has something to do with that. She's got a lot of skills built up over the years, giving me a lot of therapy.
So they should give her the degree just based on practical experience. Start with
I think she'd probably have a pretty good case anyway. Okay, so let's get into the financials. Hopefully, again, the reason I tell you that is because I got the financials out, but they're probably a little later than we normally do. But we have a pretty seasoned board, and I think you guys have all seen. You guys have been through this many times, and nothing has changed. And if you want it to change, let me know. I can change it. But the long and short is essentially this: our revenues are up this year, and our net income is really up. So a lot of that is just simply because you'll notice that falls right in line with where our head count's been going. So I won't go through a lot of the details here, but I would recommend that you read through these and know, kind of where I try to hit some of the areas and some of the highlights. But our net income, like I mentioned, the top there is revenue. Some of our CAPSA funds coming down, but that's a pretty small portion of our overall funding. School Land Trust, National School Lunch Funding, but really the main number I want to talk to you just so you know kind of where we are this year is our net income for this year is about $371,000 up to this point, which is really strong for us. I'm not sure we've had a net income that strong ever at this point. If we have, it's been a long time. So our budget is 307. So you can see a variance of about 64,000. So that's really strong for us. We're having strong operations. We have a $3.1 million budget, and we've spent about 42,000 of that. But just know that, as is typical with schools and school districts, a lot of those wages we accrue at the end of the year for our July and August. So of course that just kind of naturally falls in line a little bit there. Employee benefits are a little bit less than what we kind of thought they would be. And I think one of it is just there's a health insurance bill. I think once I got looking into that we kind of need to put in there. They got allocated to a different spot, so that'll actually bring that number closer to where we are. And then kind of the principals and secretaries and all their wages for the most part are in line with where we've been. Our utilities is down, and so actually by quite a bit. And I don't know if it's because we're more efficient and the lights aren't on as much, but I was kind of surprised to see that number is actually quite a bit lower than it has been in the past. So I'll kind of dive into that as well and see. But so far we're significantly below our budget. So a couple things that we've picked up this year. Some of the big expenses that you'll notice is property and equipment that we pick up with our CTE funding, which is good. We did build a shed for our CTE program, which is it fully constructed now, Alex, or what is the state of our shed?
Yeah, so it's fully constructed, insulated, electrical and heating is all run out to it. I guess heating, they're using space heaters right now, and that's monitored, but it's a fully functioning studio. They're filming in it currently, and it's pretty cool. It's big. It shocked me how big it was, but it's been up and running, I think, since we've come back from break, so beginning of January.
Yeah.
Where did they build that?
So do you know where our other sheds are behind the school? Kind of by the fields.
Yeah.
There was space behind it, and it's I want to say it's like a 20 by 40, so it's a
Oh,
good
wow.
size. Yeah, it's a good size.
Yeah, it's nice to have that. We've been talking about doing something like that for quite a while now, and it's nice to have some CTE funds where we can use that for.
Did
And
you build the shed yourself or contract?
Contract. So it was like a shed kit that they found and purchased. I can't remember who it was. We didn't go through Home Depot or Lowe's, but there was a builder that put it together for us in a day. Like it was pretty impressive when they came. Like they waited for the cement pad to be good for about 2 weeks, and then the guy, and I think it was only 2 guys, came and assembled it in less than 10 hours. So
Wow, amazing.
yeah, so it's a good
I have
shed.
a question from the school board, if I could ask. Alex, on the amounts that have been expended for the school land trust funds, was any of that dedicated to staff or aides that we should be concerned about for the rest of the year since it's totaled out?
do you
Or
want
do
to
we
answer
need to
that,
look at
Ryan?
a different source of funding?
On the school land trust.
Yes,
Yeah. Are you talking about the P&L by class that we have down there? Is that what you're talking about?
right, where you show
Yeah.
the 44,000 being expended as a total amount.
Yeah. Do you want to scroll down to
What do
that,
you-
Alex?
Oh, sorry. Is it in this one or up?
I think it's in this one, the one that I sent out. Yeah.
Is it right
Yeah,
there?
the 44,
Yeah. Yeah, that is currently the 44,000 is what we're using. We are paying a teacher for that, and I can tell you who, just 1 second, I'll pull that up and see.
It's Shandy Chambers.
Oh, that's right, it's Shandy Chambers. Yeah, so is Jill on? Jill can kind of tell you what
She's not on yet.
You want to talk a little bit about what Shandy does, Alex, for a minute?
Sure. So one of Jill's big kind of priorities has been to really help kids. Oh, and she's on right now, so I'll explain it briefly and then kind of hand it over to her. But so one of Jill's big priorities is the prepping kids for beyond high school, right? Like we want all kids to be post-high ready, whether that's straight into the career force or into, post-ed. And part of that, we pay for Shandy through Trust Lands, and Shandy does a lot of our career-oriented career exploration. So every freshman will go through her class, every sophomore will go through her class, and it's different stages. And the goal is to eventually get her to where we're doing an internship with kids in their senior year. So it's very like helping them reach post-high goals. Jill, we were just talking about what we're spending Trust Lands funds for, and what Shandy does for us. If you have anything to add there, Jill, I don't know, but Does that kind of answer your question there, Frank, of like, or
Yeah,
Ryan, I guess?
yeah, since we're just at the end of January, I didn't know if you had a source of other funding that we were considering to help with that employee or.
No, that should cover, Frank, that should cover most of that employee, but not all.
Okay,
Between wages and benefits. I mean, we are in the state retirement funds like Logan is, so it is a little more expensive per employee. So we allocate as much as we can, but then we supplement the remainder of that
right.
with just
That's
out of
perfect.
general funding.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to scroll down one more page there, Alex? Right there. Right there is good. Yep. Cash at the end of December was 729,000. Cash at the end of November was 403. So what happened there, such the lift in cash, is that just the state finally caught up and allocated us our cash for the students that we had. They were, in other words, they were underfunding us since July for our students because our student head count has increased significantly, actually. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's what you're seeing there. Okay, you can scroll down a little bit further there, Alex. Here's, you can just see a 6 month of our cash balance, kind of where we've been. And you can see it's been pretty steady. And then of course we had some supplies and some things that we picked up, which knocked our cash down as we were waiting for the additional funding to come through, which it did in December. So, okay, here's our head count. Let's talk about that for just a moment. You can see the last 3 years there, and you can see the growth that we have. And then you can actually see the explosion in growth that we've even had since October the 1st, going from 313 to 363. So in a year, essentially, we've increased our student headcount by about 110 students or 112. So yeah. Maybe Alex and Jill, you guys want to talk about that for just a second?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. We've got a huge waiting list right now of students needing help. And
Do you think it's pandemic related?
yes,
Or do you
yes,
think a lot of it's just what the unique programs we're offering?
yes, I think it's more, I think it's both. We've got a pretty cool program we're offering right now, and I think the word's getting out, and kids are, I mean, we just brought in a bunch of students that graduated, and our wait list is up to, what's our wait list? 40, 50 kids right now.
Yeah, we're about 50 deep in a wait list. So
Within 2 weeks of us going through our wait list and bringing in students. So, I mean, oh my goodness, we can't service all of these students, and we're doing our best. Yeah, but I do think it's pandemic related. I do think it's our programs that we're offering. We're offering some pretty unique ways for students to earn their credit back. We're trying out some new competency-based learning ideas, and our teachers have put in a lot of time and work in that area. And I think I think it's going really well. We just implemented kind of a change to how kids can register for those opportunities, and it's going really well, and we're getting really good feedback from families and students. So I think the word's getting out there that we have some different things to offer, and rather than traditional schooling, and that's what a lot of families look for, I think, especially as families are out of work or parents are out of work or unable to work. We're seeing a lot of kids that are requiring, or their families need them to have jobs, and so our schedule works really well for those families. So I think it's really helpful in that aspect. So
Maybe Jill.
I'll give you a completely unscientific but impression. So this is about as soft as you can get. But in my conversations with people, I think Fast Forward has historically been considered a school for at-risk students. I think it's becoming much more mainstream, if you will. And part of that is because I think the world is recognizing that all students are at risk.
Amen.
And it's, and I think fast forward is, has become an acceptable alternative to a lot more people, a much larger percentage of students and families.
And I'm glad to hear that, because that, that's kind of been our goal for quite a few years, is to, this sounds kind of dumb, but I guess change the stigma that was associated with our school for a little while. People kind of viewed us as like, kids that do drugs come here, or, kids that are, kind of emotionally disturbed come here. But we have got a huge variety of students here. We've got kids, doing rodeo with their families down in Arizona. We've got kids, that work full time. We've got kids that are at Bridgerland full time. I mean, we just got a huge variety of kids, and I agree with you, Rich.
And I think the pandemic has hastened this process a bit as well, because the pandemic has created conditions in every school now that it has forced a lot of schools to consider programming they have never considered in the past. And so now they're becoming a little bit more like Fast Forward, but Fast Forward has been doing this for a while, and to be honest, might be a little better at it than some of our other schooling options. So in other words, it's right in there with all of the other options, and that means it appeals to a much larger percentage of our community.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about kind of how we're doing this right now? To speak to the 990-hour thing for just a moment.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Alex, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So when the pandemic started, right, the state school board suspended the law of the 990 hours of required instruction or seat time, and rephrased it to be a more generous, or I don't quite know how to put it, but we have a lot more flexibility under.
It's a little less strict, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
basically
So,
school days.
yeah, so no longer do we have to account for at least 990 hours of class running, so seat time. And because of that, we've been able to switch to an AM PM schedule for students. So the AM kids are from 8 to 11:15, and then our PM kids are here from 11:50 to 3:08. And because of this, even though we have unprecedented numbers of 363, we do have a strong portion of kids who are participating solely online through our program of Agilix. And so about 50 of those, so we have roughly 310 kids to split between an AM and PM and still maintain like all our teachers teaching. So our classroom sizes, even though we have a big enrollment, are still kind of small. I'd say our biggest class has probably 18 to 20, where pre-pandemic, our math classes could be upwards of 27, 28. So even though we have a lot of kids, we're still able to kind of create that small classroom environment. The one-on-one is there. We're working really hard for we have a whole bunch of co-taught classes where there's 2 adults in there. So every kid is getting the service that they need, which has been really cool. And we have that waiver, the 990 waiver, going into the 2023 school year. So we're planning, I don't want to jump the gun and speak for Jill, but I think the plan now is to take this schedule again into next year as well. That's kind of how we're making this all work.
Okay. Any questions on, thanks for the update on that. And again, we'll see what happens with the waiver. We might have to curtail some or change some of our stuff. starting in 2023, depending on what the State Board of Education, they decide they want to make the 990 seat hour permanently gone or take it away. I think that they're kind of studying that now. We'll see how that turns out, but that's where we are today. And I think we're doing the best that we can to serve a lot of these students that are, like you were saying, Rich, are just struggling because of a lot of it is due to the pandemic. So, okay, scrolling down, I'll just kind of, it's the balance sheet there that you can kind of look. It's pretty simple balance sheet, really, just because we run most of this stuff through the income statement because we're a governmental entity. So you can kind of look at that. And then behind that is the details of the financial statement. So again, I didn't talk about everything in there, but I try to hit the highlights. And so I would again recommend that you just kind of take a look at that and see, you know, we try and break as much detail as we can. We actually probably give more detail than what this chart of accounts would like us to, but I try to give the board as much detail as possible. And then when we go to do our audit and when we go to upload our financials to the state, we actually consolidate a lot of this into smaller account or bigger account collapse. But for this, for these purposes, you know, I try to break it so that the board can kind of see those things. So, okay, any questions on just where we are financially for this year? And thus far?
Looks good.
Ryan, is there anything you think the board needs to know about? We're halfway through the school year.
Yeah.
Anything that you think we should be looking carefully at?
That's a good question, Rich. I can't think of anything honestly right now. You know, I think probably maybe one of the things that we could, and we're kind of heading this way, and I talked to Jill about it, is if we wanted to maybe look at to accommodate some additional growth, maybe just, I think Jill and I talked about maybe 2 classrooms additionally that we've kind of maybe looked at for some growth. And next time I'm up there, which will be next week, I think Jill and I will kind of maybe walk the, you know, and Alex will walk the premises and kind of see maybe what that would look like. But I do think that we could grow it a little bit and accommodate some additional students with growth. And I think, you know, with our cash position the way it is, our debt's low. I mean, I know interest rates are slated to go up. So we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that, because maybe we could borrow some of it or fund it with cash. I know construction costs are coming up quite a bit. So, but it's nonetheless, I think it's something that I think that we should look at. And then I'm fairly confident that we can, between using some of our cash and finding a good partner like Cache Valley Bank, I know that they would lend us money. I know that they would. So we've been a good partner with Cache Valley Bank for a long time. So anyway, I think that that's maybe something that we could look forward to. Any thoughts on that?
I think it sounds good. I'd love to see the school grow. I
Yeah,
love what you offer the students, so I'm excited about it.
yeah,
When do you plan to come up? What day?
yeah. We'd love to. I'm going to be up there on. And Jill doesn't know that, or Alex doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to be up there on February the 2nd.
Okay.
And we would love to have any board member come. We would love to have the board come and join us in that conversation. We would absolutely love it. So
What time are you thinking?
Jill,
I guess
Alex,
you-
Jill, what time could you do it? Does that work for you, first of all?
Yeah, I'm open whenever, and you know, anytime it's a little warmer for an afternoon stroll around the property, you know, in the afternoon or lunchtime, but
Should we plan on,
anytime,
I don't know, noon or 1?
1 o'clock.
All right.
Okay, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, we'll
We've
plan
got
on
some
that.
good
That's great.
ideas for a little bit of growth with the building.
All right. Sounds good.
So
Okay.
that'll be my 4th meeting at that hour. So I may not make it, the others evaporate.
Okay.
You haven't cloned yourself yet.
No, and nobody really wants any more of me.
I thought you were retired, but I guess not, huh?
Now that's your opinion, Rich.
Okay, any other questions on the financial stuff? I would recommend that you do it. If not, we can go on to the next item, which I think is the audit. Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to scroll down to the first page there, Alex? Sorry if hopefully we'll try and get on the same page here. Again, our audit came that was just issued about a month and a half ago. And so there were some changes to this year's audit and the way that they did it, because they now view charter schools as governmental and agency or entities essentially now. So we're treated more online, or we've always kind of been treated or looked at from the state of Utah by the district, but the IRS now looks at us more in par with the districts and how we need to do our to present our financial statements in according with governmental accounting standards. So that's the big change this year. Again, I would encourage you to go through this, but there weren't any findings that we had. Well, let me back that up. There was one finding, and I'll tell you what it was. We're a school of no fees, and
Yeah.
so we didn't charge any fees. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. We had a lagoon day, and I think we charged a small fee for some of the kids going to lagoon. And so that was our one finding that we had. I think we had like a $200 fee collectively between all the kids. I think we had like $200 of fees that we collected for that. And I think in our defense, we actually thought that according to the state, we could actually charge for that fee.
Because it was like an option, like it was a senior lagoon day if kids wanted to go.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
we didn't put it on we didn't have a fee schedule. I think that was the big problem is we said, look, we don't charge fees at Fast Forward. And so it was never on our fee schedule. And then we charged a fee for it. So that's where the rub was that I guess the problem was I mean, as much, I guess, as that is a problem, but this year we've kind of done that. And in our next board meeting that we'll actually present, I guess, we don't charge any fees, and we haven't charged any fees this year. So we knew for this year that we didn't approve another fee schedule this year. We just basically have said, we don't charge fees at our school. And so we've really been aware of not charging any fees this year. And from what I can tell, we haven't. So we truly are a school that doesn't charge any fees for anything this year. Now, if the board wants to take up, and I suggest that they maybe do for a few fees, I know, like if we go to Lagoon Day, or if we do like Beaver Mountain Ski or something like that, if we want to charge a fee for that, I think that that's maybe something the board should do. But again, I'll leave that up to you guys and how you want to see that. But that's just kind of where we are that was the one finding that we had here this year. So
Just a comment from the school board, if I might. I think one of the main objectives with the fee collection and review, of course, is just to make sure that there aren't any students that are excluded because of that opportunity. So like your Lagoon Day, if it was a fee that was charged, but we had 10 students who didn't make it because of that fee, that's where the concern comes in.
Yeah.
So just a reminder.
Yeah, and no, that's a good reminder. Thanks for that. I think that we have always thought of ourselves, and I don't think we intentionally would ever exclude a student. I just think that we just thought, there is some money out of pocket here for this, and it is kind of, but we just didn't approve. Our mistake is we just didn't approve that. So I don't, most of our kids are on fee waivers, or I mean, traditionally they have been. And so most of our kids participate for free anyway in most of our activities, and we always try to be super inclusive and not leave any kids out. The truth is we don't have a ton of we do have activities, but not like you would probably see at Logan High or some of these bigger high schools. They have a lot more fees. They do a lot more things too, right? So for us, I think it's easier for us to simply say we don't charge fees and be truly a school that says we don't do fees, and we do that. We just happen to charge a couple fees, and that's kind of where we fell out of compliance on that.
So if someone wanted to donate for that trip down there, then you wouldn't have to worry about it, right?
No, and to the truth is, yes, that is true. We wouldn't have to worry about that, and we take donations for that for whatever reason. But we do just if a kid wants to go, we don't want to cut the program, and I think that's probably what you're getting at, Lynn. Is like we don't want to get into the habit of saying we don't collect fees and therefore we're cutting programs. And we're really trying not to have that conversation. So yeah, donations are nice because then we can actually increase maybe the number of activities that we do. We do have a fairly minimal, I mean, there's more things I think that we could potentially do, but I think for the size of our school, we actually do quite a few things. I mean, Jill, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we have traditionally done like a ski day. We have Lagoon Day. We usually have get-togethers in the fall and in the spring for the students outside where we have like a taco truck come, and that's all.
Yeah,
Aside, well, the ski day and the Lagoon Day students have paid for it, but we have like a pretty low, not very many students participate, but so Ryan and I kind of figured we could just cover
yeah,
the seniors that wanted to go to Lagoon and keep us fee free, I guess is the way to put it. So
yeah.
anyway.
I know somebody that would help with that, so.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be
That would
great.
We'd love
I mean,
that.
we
But-
usually don't even have enough for a bus to go to Lagoon. Usually we
Yeah.
have, I don't know, 15 to 20 students, so.
Okay,
I think another consideration when we look at these activities, look at the number of students who are participating and the centrality of the focus of the event as an educational consideration or purpose. There are some things that are nice to do, and even if they appeal to a small number of students, it's worth it, but it may not be the most important thing we do for the largest number of students.
mhm,
And I see that maybe the Lagoon Day fits in that category of activities. It doesn't mean we get rid of it, but it does mean that maybe we look to external sources of support, because it's not going to be one of the central activities that is absolutely essential for us to provide for the students. Now, for those students who participate, that may very well be one of the most important things they participate in. So I want to be careful that we don't discard those activities just because only a few students participate. For them, it may be very important.
yeah,
But I think we can still
Don't they
maintain
have to?
our
Sorry.
focus on not charging fees, but for those other activities that involve a few students, and maybe it's not right down the middle of where we are. It's not our, I don't know. I'm not sure how to describe this, but it's not the most essential thing we do. Still important for a few students. Let's see if we can figure out how to cover it.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't they have to have a certain grade level GPA to be able to attend the Lagoon Day too? Sometimes that's incentivizing.
We have in the past where it's for it's basically for graduating students only. It's kind of been hard to hold to it. We try to incentivize it by saying you got to have, these grades, but yeah, that's all I'll say.
Okay.
We do we try to, but it doesn't always work out that way. Some students will be passing or having pretty good grades at the time, and then when Lagoon Day comes, they might have dropped a grade in a class, and anyway, it doesn't always work out perfectly, but yeah.
Okay.
Anything else on the audit?
Yeah, you can scroll down just a little bit. Let's get into a couple numbers here. Right there. Let's actually scroll down. Oh, sorry, I'm just looking through. It's a little bit smaller than I need it. It's on. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so essentially, we do have a deficit net asset position of 153,635. And during the year, expenses were 143,797, less than the $2.7 million generated in revenue. So really, we posted a net income of $143,000, but we still have a negative net asset position, which fast forward typically hasn't always had, but there's the main reason for that. There's a couple reasons. If you want to scroll down just a little bit, Alex. This year we had to keep going. You can stop there for a second. You can see our negative net asset position of 153,000. Okay, scroll down. I think it's on the next page, I believe. Right here. No, one more up to the, yeah, just up just a little bit. There we go. So this is the big change that we're doing now. And those of you that sit on the Logan School District are familiar with that. I've seen this for a lot of years, but this is actually the first year that we've had to capture that. So a portion of the school's net position, or so essentially $78,000, reflects the school's investment in capital assets. So that's the depreciation on our facility, which isn't a lot, right? We basically paid for all of the depreciation on our facilities, but about $78,000, which is good. A lot of charter schools aren't doing that, so they have big negative net asset positions because they're not paying for their depreciation. We're actually almost paying for our depreciation, which is phenomenal. The remaining net position of 231 is unrestricted. This balance is net of the school's proportionate share of the unfunded obligation of the defined benefit pension plan administered by the Utah retirement system. So essentially what that's saying is that, and I'll try and be concise but brief here, we participate in the state retirement system, and so the $231,000 reflects, and again, I don't know why we have to actually show this as a liability and why we do, and maybe those of you that are on the Logan School Board can explain it to me that have been there before. I don't know how they look at it either, but the way that I look at it is that's essentially saying that if the Utah retirement system ceased to exist and our employees would still have claims for their years that they worked, for the retirement that they have, I guess somehow they would have a right to come back to Fast Forward Charter High School and say, okay, the state of Utah, the state of Utah state retirement system has enough assets to cover all of our potential obligations that they're going to owe us, except for $231,000. So we're going to come back to East Fast Forward for $231,000 of our retirement. Does that make sense? I mean, that's essentially how we view that. And so that's just our portion of the unfunded liability of the state retirement system.
That's correct. I remember when it changed at Logan, when I was on the board, only we had quite a big deficit, but it's supposed to all work out in the long run. You just have to show that is a deficit you're responsible for, but
yeah. And thanks for that.
Basically.
And that number's actually come down probably a lot from what it would have been several years ago, because the market has just been doing so well. That number is actually, surprisingly to me, pretty low. But
I can tell you when they first did that, when the market was doing so less, I can't remember how many millions that Logan district would be responsible for. So, and that was just due to the investment that they were doing, and it just wasn't providing enough. So that's, but now that it is increasing, I'm sure this number will get less and less. So we hope.
We hope so. I mean, you never know. It's hard to predict what the market's going to do, but it's had several good years, and hopefully that number will get less. I don't know if any retirement system will ever get to where they have more assets than they're going to have to pay out in future obligations.
No,
but Utah is one of the very best managed ones. I do know that. And so we're not as bad as some other states, but still, I mean, it's, there's promises that have been made and will continue to be made. And there's obligations, and hopefully the assets will be there to pay those. But essentially the portion that reflects to us is $231,000. So we've almost paid. So if you go back up to our negative net asset is what, 153?
While you're getting to that other part, I'll give you a little interesting tidbit of information. A few years ago, the state of California found themselves in a real pickle because they couldn't afford to cover their teacher retirement. And so they decided to borrow millions of dollars out of their state school trust plans.
Oh, wow.
And because governors can get away with this kind of stuff, they just never paid that back.
Oh,
Now, I don't think that would happen in the state of Utah, but it's a danger because state governments look at school trust land funds and they say, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. We
Yep.
could jump in there and pick that up, and all of a sudden it's gone, and it's like eating your seed corn because,
yeah. Yeah.
well,
Rich, I think we're protected by law that would never happen. Luckily, that school land trust is paying out over I think it's almost $8 billion now in its assets.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's big.
I think we're really in a good position in Utah because of that school land trust format. Really helps us as schools in a big way.
Sure
yeah,
does.
it wasn't the case, Frank, about 30 years ago, unfortunately. Those
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
sure.
and
It's certainly grown tremendously if you look at the chart. It's pretty incredible.
yeah,
Well, thanks for that. Yeah, it's we are well managed. We're lucky to live in Utah, really, for a lot of reasons, and part of it is because we do have a government that functions pretty well. At least in my opinion, it does. And they manage. They know what their obligations are, and I think they try and manage those the best they can. So really, even though I knew a negative net number was coming, you hate to be pleased with a negative number, but I guess as pleased as I could be with this one, because I honestly thought it was going to be north of $600,000. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. So our total negative net asset position is really not terrible, considering that we had a positive cash flow this last year, and we almost paid for, we only have 153,000. So we paid for all of our depreciation, and we paid for a good chunk of the negative 231,000 that came through because we had to take the one-time hit for the Utah retirement system. So all things considered, very
It's
good.
not bad.
Yeah, and this year's actually even shaping up to be better. So I think at the end of this year, I think we'll still have a negative net position, but it's going to be close. It's going to be, we could actually pull ourselves completely out of a negative net asset position this year, which would be phenomenal. Okay, that's kind of the long and short. I kind of wanted to hit those up front. The rest of it, you can kind of just see these are our operating revenues, and you can, if you just want to stop, that's just showing the same thing a different way. That's just a change in net asset position. I would recommend that you read the highlights of here. And again, it would be hard to go through all of this in the board meeting that we have today, but it is all of the information I can tell you our auditors are very thorough, and they're very good. And Squire, if you know who they are, they do a ton of schools. And so they're very familiar with how to audit a school. And so they get into a lot of the detail here. Our audit did change significantly, the format of it this last year, quite a bit from where it was. It's a lot more in depth. So, okay. Scroll down one more. Let's go down to the next set of numbers. I just want to look and see if we got an income. Hold on. Let's see. That's our total net assets. You can see the only asset, and I will say we do have debt. The only debt that we have is on our facility, and you can see that it's, as of June, it was just a little over 2 million. Today it's actually, just get that number for you. Well, it's not far off that. And it's about 2,045,000. So, I mean, we've paid off a little over $1 million in debt since the inception of our building. That's the only debt we have, which is great. So we're in a good position to go out and to expand if we want to, right? So, okay, you can just keep scrolling down. I just want to look at an income statement here. There's our head count over the years. Okay. Okay, that's again, just kind of building into our 153,000 that we had. Then you can kind of break in, here's the instructional staff. Here's kind of what this has a little more detail for you. And you can see the net position at the beginning of the year was actually 297,000. And then we had a one-time hit of 231. So we had a really, actually pretty good year operating last year, and to bring our net asset position down with a big one-time hit. So, okay. Again, you can keep scrolling through here. Let's just see if there's anything else we want to bring up. That's our balance sheet. Okay, go ahead. Okay. And again, it keeps a lot of it just builds into that net asset position. You can see the negative 153, but it shows it a lot of different ways. So again, I would encourage you to go through this and look at it. Let me know if you have any questions at all. But let's just look at that. Okay. Any questions on any of the audit? We did have the one finding. The highlights are there's a change in the reporting. We did take the one hit from the one-time hit. Is probably the biggest thing from this audit from the state risk management fund or from state retirement. And then we also had just the one finding there. Everything else, we were in compliance with the state legal compliance guide. We didn't have any findings as far as fraud or any trying to think of the other things that they test, but we were in compliance there with all of the testing that they did. Like I said, they just had the one finding. So any questions?
Well, hearing none.
Yeah, we can move on, shall we?
Let's move on. No action is needed on that. We're accepting that. We do have action that will be required on this next item. This is our FY22 TSSA plan approval.
Yeah, we do have to. This has been an ongoing program for a couple years now. It's a Teacher and Student Success Act, which was put into law a couple years ago. We do have to, I forget that we do have to go back. I fill these out with Utah grants, and then they always come back and say, you got to have your board approve this plan. And so I got to get this approved. I'm getting this approved hopefully today. We're going to let you know what we're doing with the funds. We can discuss it. If anybody wants to change, we can do that. I will say if your school falls below a certain threshold, they take all the districts, they take all the charter schools, and they look at where the teachers are being paid. And if you do fall behind a certain number or threshold, then you can actually use up to 40% of these funds to pay for those. Fast forward does fall below that line. So we're actually gonna take 40% of these funds, which is essentially the total grant is for 81,510. So if we took 40% of that, it's $32,604 to pay for wages, increases in wages and benefits, which we were allocated for that. The remaining 60%, which is about $48,000 or $49,000, we have several things that we put in our program that we were going to purchase with those. But suffice it to say that we're going to fund our summer program, and we're gonna pick up some Chromebooks, and then we're going to also have a roaming classroom paraprofessional, I think is what we're planning on doing with that 48,000. Now that might not be that we're going to do all of those. It might be that we're going to maybe fund our summer program. And then if we don't hire a roaming classroom paraprofessional, we'll pick up the rest in Chromebooks. So I know we have made some Chromebook purchases, and with our growing head count, and then a summer program that we do every summer that's kind of successful. So I don't know if Jill or Alex, you want to talk about any of that for a moment?
Yes, so our summer program is directed at students who are behind on their credits, or students that are interested in participating as well. The students that are behind on their credits, we meet with their families and tell them about the program, and it's kind of expected that they attend. We have a couple different options. So we really wanted to get students in doing some more outside of the classroom activities. And so we've got a pretty cool program. I'll have Alex talk a little bit about one of our summer programs that he actually helped put together and runs, where students go out and we go to different sites close by where students can earn history, English, PE credit, all while going for about 3 weeks out of the month of June on some adventures and exploration type academic work. And we also have an in-house, well, on-campus program as well, where we hire some teachers to work the month of June, and we offer some of the PCBL opportunities available for students during June. And we've seen a great turnout with those, and it's been really helpful. We've had over the years, we always have students that come in that are behind on credits and doing everything they can. A lot of them, for absence reasons or working. A lot of them like really leave it to the last, 3 or 4 months of the school year to try to graduate and get caught up on their credits. And so we thought, why not work on getting these students caught up before that final, last 4 months of the school year. It's stressful on families, it's stressful on teachers and our counselor. So we thought we identified the students that needed to attend summer school and had those meetings, set it up for kids to come in. And now this year, this is our second year. We've done it 2 years, and this is our first year that we're really seeing huge results on students that are on track to graduate on time, where in the past it would be, nail biting, nervous, begging, pleading to get these kids done by May. So it's been very helpful. So we do have a couple different opportunities for students in the summer. Alex, do you want to take just a minute and talk about the program that you head up?
Sure. So I've spoken about it before, I think, to our board, and it's more or less it's like a summer outdoors program where we incorporate English, PE, and social studies. We talk about kind of like the local history. We go out to Golden Spike. We go over to Montpelier and do the Oregon Trail Museum out there. We go up to the Tetons, learn about kind of that, just the West local history. And then we also do a whole bunch of local hikes, go to Crimson Trail, get the kids out, get them active. We started that one in 2019, and it's kind of grown. We didn't do it in 2020, but so kind of skipped a year, but in 2021, we ran it again, and kids love it. It's really cool it's a small group of kids. Because we're going more or less every day, it's 12 kids. We take 2 vanfuls of kids and get out there, and it's really cool to just see like the relationships that grow between kids who didn't really know each other at the beginning of the class, and just it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed doing it, and kids walk away with 1.5 credits, a half credit of English, a half credit of social studies. And so it's not as extensive to the other program for students who are deficient or more severely deficient, but they do get some credit. And we've had some kids that made the difference of them, being done with high school credit and then taking advantage of Bridgerland and concurrent enrollment in their senior year full time. So it's pretty awesome. And then kind of to piggyback on what Jill said is in the 2020 school year, or summer 2020 is when we started this other credit recovery program. And for 2021 summer, we had students earn, like, combined everyone's credit together of 67.5 credits between probably 16 different kids in various areas of, math, English, science, elective. And so that has made a huge difference in how many seniors started this year more behind. Any kid that was going into their senior year with less than 15 credits was contacted and recruited to come in and participate in the summer credit recovery. And that's the plan for this year too. So it's been really beneficial for our kids.
Great.
Alex, could I just make one additional comment?
Of course.
I don't know if anyone saw the Logan City School Board meeting on Tuesday evening, but for quite some time now, over about a year, we've been investigating the possibility of utilizing our ESSER funds to actually partner and purchase the forestry camp across from Tony Grove. And we are currently close to an agreement, if not completed, to do so for an outdoor learning center and opportunity that Fast Forward would be able to capitalize on as well. So we're really excited about them. Much
That
like
is
the Teton Science School up in Jackson,
Oh,
we'll be able to
Great.
utilize this service close for our students.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Pretty exciting.
wow.
this is exciting.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
This is another example of why partnership with Logan School District is so crucial. And thank you, Frank, for bringing that up. So Alex and Jill, maybe you can explain how all of the things you have described relate to the document that's being displayed.
So our summer program, if you look at number 1, we have to pay our teachers to come in during the summer. And we have used this TSSA money to help pay stipends for teachers to come in and do that extra duty, extra pay type situation. And also technology, we have been able to buy, our school's essentially, well, we are 1-to-1. Every student at our school has a Chromebook. And that this TSSA money has helped us to purchase Chromebooks for all of our students. So, and also number 7, the summer school programs is kind of where our money fits in to this program, where we're planning on spending our money. So
Would you say that this document is to explain the parameters within which we operate as far as the teacher and student success programs are concerned? This is the way I look at this document. It looks like other than selling arms to a foreign country, we can do pretty much anything we want to do with that money. Is that consistent with how these plans and frameworks are designed and stipulated?
pretty much, there's a few not, may not be used for the bottom of the page, but yeah, for the most part, it's pretty flexible, and it's nice to help use this to increase teacher salaries. So
Yeah, we couldn't use it for any capital expenditures, which would be, replacing your roof or putting new asphalt down on your parking lot or building a facility. Most of that's facility related, right? For the most part, or buying land or. But
Well,
think
I was intrigued that it even supports early childhood education, number 1 activity for a high school.
yeah. Wow.
that's right.
So you need approval of this framework statement, is that correct?
It's the approval of the plan that Ryan laid out. So like the allocation of funding towards personnel stipends, the 40% towards the increase in teacher pay, the technology. So this is the framework, and then Ryan plugs into what we discussed here into Utah grants.
Yeah, so essentially that'd be
Budget.
40%, so $32,600. There's $32,604 would go towards wages and benefits. The additional $48,906 would go to fund our probably our summer program of Chromebooks.
Okay. Do we have any other questions about this plan from any board member?
Nope.
Well, then it may be time for a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion. We accept the Teacher and Student Success Act.
The plan proposed by
that we
Ryan,
have. Yes.
is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, any further question on the motion? All right, hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the calendar. Jill, do you want to tell us about the calendar?
Yes, so this is our proposed calendar for the next school year. It's kind of a combination. We usually follow the Logan School District's calendar pretty closely. We, however, followed the counties a little more this year with starting and ending days. This is it. So it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think Logan starts the 23rd. We opted to follow Cache County's start date of the 18th, just to give us a couple more days in August rather than putting our days at the end. Down here's the total, so it accounts for our 180 days, and then our last day is prior to Memorial Day, which is what we usually like to do.
Any significant departure from the calendars that we have had in previous years?
You know, our Christmas break's gonna be shorter. That's kind of a big deal, but
Yeah,
other
I
than that,
noticed that.
yeah, that's hard on teachers, but other than that, that's it.
Do we know what Logan's gonna do for Christmas break or holiday break or whatever they want to call it now?
Yeah.
So on their calendar, they start the 22nd. Because we put I put one extra day in August, we were able to start the 21st. So Logan
Okay.
will start holiday break the 22nd.
So
Okay.
Logan will
Other
have
than
an
that,
even
we
shorter
match.
break.
We're having a shorter break as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to get all the days in and try to give the appropriate summer break is becoming more challenging every year.
Right.
Isn't it so?
Okay.
Well, it looks good to me.
So then we just need to approve it.
So do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar for 22, 23 as we're looking at it, discussing it.
All right, that's Teresa, right? I
Yeah.
gotta quickly move my screen so I can see who's talking. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second it. That's fine.
So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any further clarification needed by any board member on the motion? Okay, those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes, and this becomes our calendar. This is our calendar.
Wow.
I'm already celebrating Christmas. All right. Moving right along. Principals report.
I guess that's me.
That's you.
So I wanted to take a minute. We've talked about our head count. You know, the last, basically since Christmas break, we have really been floundering with keeping the school staffed because of sickness and disease. And oh my goodness, we've had, you know, upwards of half of our teachers out because of illness. So it's been extremely hard. I got to give, my staff is pretty dang amazing because they have covered for each other and made it work. And we have kind of scraped along the last 2 weeks, especially 3 weeks. Anyway, I'm just grateful for what a good staff we have here. We've made it through. There was a few times I thought we might need to go to online learning for a week, but we made it. So, I mean, we're hoping that we made it. We're hoping we don't have much more sickness, but we've got, you know, a pretty high number of our student body out, that we've seen about 30% out for, you know, illness. And it's hard. It's hard to keep these kids, you know, on track in their learning and help them catch up their, you know, missing work. And but this is, I think it kind of leads into what I wanted to talk about for a few minutes. So we've talked about our schedule and things we're doing at the school to help our students succeed and find success, among some of our other neat things that we do here. This year, because of the ESSER money that the government has rolled out for us, we've been, a couple of years ago, the state basically put out a personalized competency-based learning framework. Well, it was about a year ago, and this is really exciting to me. I love the thought. I love competency-based learning. I think there's different, like Rich talked about a little earlier, I think there's different ways that our students can show us that they know what they need to know besides sitting in a classroom, you know, for a certain amount of time. And so we got started with this PCBL framework that the state gave us, and we had a committee start looking at it. And basically our committee was formed with teachers and administrators that were interested in going and looking at the competency-based learning and then making it happen. And so we had a committee that would meet twice a month, and they went through this packet, which is basically 4 areas of the personalized competency-based learning framework for students, and it has led us into where we're at now. We've been able to implement this PCBL framework within the school on Fridays. So our students are coming to school in person or online Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday is our PCBL day. And students have a couple of options. So we have teachers assigned. Teachers are either working as basically in the competency-based area, or they're here for student support. So students can sign up for basically for time to come in and meet with their teachers or work on basically credit recovery. So we're offering this personalized competency-based learning for credit recovery and original credit. So students that are interested in, you know, doing, you know, I don't want to call it a packet, but it's basically a personalized, you know, competency-based classroom, which will look different kind of for each area, but we all have the same goals, and we're working towards the personalized piece of it. I'm not explaining it very good, but we're really working towards making it personalized for every student. So what works for Joe might not work for Sally. And our teachers are really wrapping their minds around this and coming up with some really cool ideas. So we've got the framework put together, and students are using it and being successful and earning credits. And as we continue on this journey of this PCBL, we're really trying to get our teachers to start thinking about the personalization aspect of it, which they do phenomenally in the classroom. I feel like that's one of the reasons that make our school successful is it's very personalized learning. And we're trying to get that available to students outside of the classroom. So if I have a student that, lives down in Weber County and is online and would like to do some, credit recovery options, or would like to move forward and do some different English classes, that's kind of where this PCBL is coming into play for students. And I'm just thrilled with the results. It's hard to describe it. But we've got different administrators around the valley that are hearing about it and wanting to know what we're doing, because it's been really successful and students love it. And I think as we become more personalized for each student, it's only going to grow. The interest is only going to grow, because I can have a student come in and say, well, I really struggle, X, Y, and Z, but I can do A, B, and C to show you that I know, the curriculum, and I know how to, I know this, whatever the instructional area is. So I think it's going to be, I'm pretty excited about it. Our teachers have done a lot of work, and so basically we've been able to spend our ESSR money. They all submit a packet each term that they've put together for students. So I've got, for our health teacher has put together 4 packets right now of health and PE that a student can do, and it's all competency based. And like I said, we're still working towards the personalization piece of it. So there's a couple of options for students, or a student can have complete control over what that might look like for them within the framework the teacher puts together, if that makes sense. So
Let me ask a question, Jill. Is this, would it be fair to say this is almost like students and teachers entering into instructional contracts?
right.
Here's something a student might propose, and the teacher negotiates what the objectives might be and what appropriate measurement strategies would be to determine competency. Because if that's the case, I'm all over this. It's very much like what we would do in higher education as culminating experiences, like theses and dissertations. Of course, the scope would be different, but it's the same kind of principle where a student might propose what it is they're going to accomplish, how it's going to be measured and documented. And I like it. I think it's wonderful. It's personalized. It can be very demanding, and it should be. It shouldn't be anything that suggests a lowering of standards. Generally speaking, these kinds of approaches end up having higher standards of performance. So if that's an appropriate description, well done.
Yes, that I would definitely say that's exactly what it is. And I've never really looked at it from that aspect. So I think that's, I do have a few teachers that are kind of struggle to wrap their mind around the non-traditional aspect of this. But, we encourage through conversation and teamwork, what kind of evidence will we allow students to show us that they know, and that's very non-traditional thinking, in my opinion. And so at least at a high school level. And so that's a good way to put it, is, kind of what they do with the thesis or dissertation. I like that. So anyway, it's pretty exciting. I love this. I felt like with our COVID and the changes that the state has made, it's really opened up the door for us to do a lot of different things that are out of the box, and just, to help meet the needs of our students that are out of the box thinkers, or, out of the box doers. So anyway.
I think it's wonderful. I love it. I can just imagine how your waiting list is going to explode when word gets out about it.
Yeah. I think it's starting to, but it's pretty, I love to be able to offer this to students instead of, hey, you've got to go sit in a class for this amount of time to get credit, or even just a basic, a packet, you got to do this. I love the
Right.
personalization
I
approach
do
that
too.
students can help design what their instruction looks like. Really an increase, hoping to increase involvement and motivation for students that I think we see through all schools right now is the apathy and the kind of lack of motivation. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's exciting,
wonderful.
but I just wanted to share that little piece with you on what we're doing and what our teachers have been working on. And it's nice to be able to, help. I mean, we're able to pay our teachers for doing this extra work, and it gives them, it gets them kind of excited about, different ways of teaching and thinking about education and being able to, pay them for their efforts and all the work they've been putting in, because it's really been kind of it's been kind of a little stressful at times on, how do we come up with different ways for a student to get Math 2 credit, besides sitting in the classroom and doing, 20 worksheets and taking 6 tests. And anyway, it's really.
Oops.
I don't,
Still froze.
he's calling me, 1 second.
Well, while we're waiting to see if Jill rejoins us, there is some interesting research extending back a number of years on a related approach known as contract grading, where students and teachers would come together and they would negotiate how grades would be issued in a class, and it was all personalized, and it was the research is very supportive. It's very favorable research. So
It sounds like a lot of work for teachers because they
Yeah.
have to do an individual contract for each student, right?
yeah, it's and
Wow.
I guess that's why the extra funds makes sense.
I like it.
Well, we'd like to tell Jill that we're in support. I guess you're there again, Jill. I see you.
Yeah, sorry, my computer battery died and I had it plugged in, but my charger wasn't plugged in. Had kind of a crazy day, so anyway, sorry.
There you go. There you go. Well, that brings us, do you have any other questions, any of you for Jill?
And I would like to say one last thing. We're planning graduation regular, end of May-ish. And I have got the university reserved like we've done in the past at the ballroom. But I do know a lot of people have kind of liked how we've done it differently in the past. If you feel one way or another, please feel free to email me or let me know. I don't know, we're trying to decide, and with the, the COVID stuff, we're still trying to be careful and anyway, with all that into consideration, if we feel like we want to go back to Utah State, or if we liked, the school graduation, it's a little more formal at Utah State, I think, but so if you feel one way or want to talk about that, please do so.
I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I love the energy that is generated when people come together. But I'm looking at the future and anticipating that this pandemic is going to be over by about 2029. So. And maybe then I get a little discouraged. So I think having the idea that maybe we can get together is good, but let's, my recommendation is that we continue to have as a possibility some version of what we've done the past year or two.
Rich, let's not lose our optimism.
Yes, yes, well, you're right. I'm being optimistic that 2029 will be over.
That's your best goal.
That's
I-
very optimistic.
I have loved what you've done the last couple of years with your graduation. You've been so creative in the midst of our COVID mess. And I really appreciated that. I like the idea of the traditional graduation because I feel like you made reference to the stigma of fast forward. And I think having more traditional type graduation helps to alleviate that, but everybody's been in the same mess. We've all had, to adapt for graduation these last couple of years. I'm trying to be optimistic too. I would not like to be in the ballroom with a bunch of masks. I hate the masks, but you've done a great job. So good job, Jill.
Jill, if I might just make a Bridgerland comment. COVID has actually caused us to create a new circumstance with Bridgerland's graduation that we're almost liking much, much better, and we'll probably keep doing for the future. But we've been able to break it into smaller groups by departments. And so those students come through over the course of 3 nights, which includes Brigham City's campus. We have the students come through in smaller groups, and their parents and guests come in as well. And they have had such a personal opportunity to take pictures and congratulate their graduates that it's almost become preferential to what we used to do as a large group.
Oh, yeah.
So
Those
it is creating
graduations are so
opportunity for us
long.
to be creative.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a combination, like you say. That was good, Frank.
Okay, well, thank you. If you guys have any other thoughts, feel free to email or call me. But we
Okay.
appreciate it. I'm trying to kind of get all stakeholder input to see what we think will be best in this situation. So anyway, that's all I've got for tonight.
Okay.
Wonderful. Hey, let me, I'll entertain other comments from other board members while you're thinking about it. Let me just let you know from a community standpoint, the community's annual Martin Luther King celebration scheduled for January 14th was postponed. This is something that is a partnership of Cache Community Connections, which is an interfaith and civic group in partnership with USU's Black Student Union. It's been tentatively rescheduled for February 25th. And I say tentatively because if the pandemic continues to be raging at that time, we may see another schedule change. Who knows? But I know that Andy Worrell and some of his students are working on some artwork for that to advertise that event. And if Fast Forward had a performing group that might be interested in presenting some music suitable to a Martin Luther King celebration, we'd be interested, I'm sure, in entertaining that possibility. Just something for you to think about.
Oh, absolutely. I'll talk to Ryan Conger about that. See if that's something they'd be interested in. I think students would love that.
Great. All right, anything else from other board members? Any announcements, questions,
Frank.
concerns?
Frank has something.
Oh, Frank.
Yes, I'm sorry to be wearing a couple of hats this evening, but obviously Bridgerland is such a good partner with Fast Forward that we just wanted to let all of you know that our new health science building groundbreaking will be on March 16th for the new nursing health science building that will be built on the corner of 14th and 6th. And we also, you've probably seen all of the activity over on 10th North, and because of that, we have a land bank request into the state legislature this session to purchase some additional property. But tied to that, we've asked our architect on the building to actually put together a full master plan for Bridgerland for the next 50 years, which includes several building opportunities that could potentially happen for an entrepreneurship center and some other things. I only mention that because obviously Fast Forward is very linked to our West Campus and to the things that we like to do in the future with you. So just something to be aware of as you talk about additional classroom space. If there's anything that we can do from that side to assist and help, we'd certainly be glad to.
Oh, great. That's good to know.
Good.
Thank you.
A lot of great things
Wow.
happening. This is such an incredible area right now for Logan City.
Yeah, it is.
Great.
Wonderful.
Just brings more attention to Fast Forward.
So Frank, will Bridgerland occupy most of the block from 6th to 10th and 10th to 14th?
Well, that's the objective, is that we would have a block of space. I know Logan City wants to create a new 800 West pathway from north to south. And they also want to try to create 12th North all the way through from in front of Bridgerland Elementary to the 10th West. And we have some concerns about that with all of our students from Cache High School and Bridgerland in that area. So we're not willing to quite give that up yet, but because of everything that's starting to expand from that 10th North side, we're looking at purchasing some property ourselves so that we protect our campus opportunity long-term.
Good, good,
Wow.
good.
That's great.
This is something that is a bit far afield from our discussion right now, but since you seem to know about what's happening in that part of the world, I keep hearing about Costco coming in and building something, but is that in the same area?
Costco will be across from Gosner Foods on that corner of 10th West and 10th North. The FedEx building is currently being constructed on the south side of 10th North.
Okay.
And of course, the Chris and Jason Larson for Al Sporting Goods have put their strips together for businesses and warehouses and would extend that north if they could. But we're working closely with them for the opportunity for Bridgerland to have some of that property as well, so that we've got a square campus available essentially.
Great. Sounds wonderful.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's exciting times.
Anything else? Well, I'm going to suggest that we bring this meeting to a close. So hearing no objections, the meeting of the Fast Forward Charter High School Board of Trustees is now closed. Thank you all for your participation.